switch to your style.scss, and I'm just going to minimize this because this takes up a lot of code. So toggle menu, I'm just going to minimize this. I'm going to minimize that one, so it's a little bit easier to scroll through everything. There we go. So after the button, I'm just going to do a, oops, what did I click? Just do a quick comment section top typo. So we know that we're working on this one right now, and I'm just going to do a start as well. Cool. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to use our selected to grab the section top here and do a curly brackets, and I'm going to set up the standard here. So I'm going to do a box sizing, there we go, box sizing, and we're going to use the border box here. So that's the first one. And I'm going to do text align, so we can also use, if we were using display flex, we could use justify for this one, but I'm just using, since we're only having text, I'm just using the line for that one. I just want to center the text, right? So we can just quickly go, if I go to the correct one, and now I actually opened the wrong window, so now my computer lags a little bit. There we go. So if I refresh, and I also remember to save, yes, you can see computer is super slow right now because I'm using ScreenFlow. So now this is there and it's centered. That's great. So that's the first part, and I'm going to use a background color, and I'm going to use a linear color. So I'm going to do a little bit extra with this one. So you know, standard gradient, so you can go from white to black and things like this, or gray to blue, or whatever you want, right? But we can also use a angle or set up a degree in here, so we can actually tilt it a little bit. So we're going to use 141 in this case, and the first color we're going to go is from the gray color, and we're going to use 25% in the first one. So it takes 25% to go to full, and then we're going to use this one for 40%, so that's the center color, and then the last color here will be 35%. So cool. So let's click save, see what that happens, anything to our color. So now you can see it has this gray, lighter, and a little bit darker, so like silvery color, actually something like this, though, like metallic color. So it's only it's not really tall though, it's only as tall as the text here. So we're gonna set that up as well. For the text type, we just want to use we use hex colors for I use hex color for this. You can also go back to RGB if you want to. That's all right. It's up to you. And we're going to add a font size. We are going to give it let's go 30 pixels. Oh, sorry. Let's do this correctly. And sorry. Then we're going to use padding for the top. And again, you can also do this many different ways. Since we are only using text in this one, I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use 35 view height. So, and in this case, I'm going to use height. So if you're unfamiliar with the VH, it's called view height. So it scales for your browser or your phone. So from here to way down here, that's 100 view height. So it's kind of like percentage, but it just works better. So it works way better than percentage. It doesn't have to have a, so if I use 100% here, it might not actually go to 100% because the content inside it does not take up all that space. But with view height, it actually makes sure it takes up all the space, so it goes all the way down here now. So it fills out, and it's exactly 100%. See, I can't scroll, and there's no 1% down here that's missing out and everything. And now we can also see the background up here. So view height, and there's also one called view width, whoops, like this, which is of course for the width instead. They're super awesome. So if you're not familiar with them, you can start using them because they're like awesome. Good. So that's the first part here. We're going to add a little bit more. We're going to add overflow. So this won't do anything right now, but we're going to hide some of our text. In this case, we're going to hide this one here. And that's why we have the overflow hidden. So it's going to disappear, and then we're going to push it in a little bit later. So let's click save for this, and let's see if everything still works. Cool. All right, let's hide some of our text here. So let's start with this one here. And if we go to our code and back here, we can see this is inside the animated text hub and the span here, right? That's the one we want to disappear for now. So let's stay, since we're using Sass, we can just stay inside here. So we can do the nested part. So .animated dot text top, and then the span here. There we go. That's green, that's all right. So in here, we're going to actually push the content margin left. So we're gonna push the text, this text here, we're gonna push this away. So it's gone away. So let's set up -555. Again, this depends on how much text you have. You have more text, you kind of need to increase this. But in this case, we should be good with this one here. So save, and let's go back, and it's still there. Oh, right, we haven't set a width for it yet. Whoops, my bad. So let's just do this up here. So let's do .animated text top. Whoops, there you go. And our curly brackets, I'm just gonna remove it, make a little bit more space. So let's do a width for 0 pixels. So that should make it go boo-boo. Bye-bye, I mean. There we go. No, it moves it over there, that's all right. Actually, that's not supposed to be there. So let's check to see if I have an error. So animated text top, animated, oopsie daisy, that's 2, or actually 3 T's here. So let's do this, save, and there we go. So one thing I'm going to add more is I'm going to add a paragraph here. So since we have a paragraph, and in this I'm just going to change the font size real quick to, let's go 14 pixels. Let's say color standard 999, and let's do some margin top of, let's say like 50. See if that works. So that's just doing a little bit to this, so a little smaller, and then there's still space for this one. Last thing we're going to do before the next video is we're going to set up we're creating our animation, so giving them a name, duration, and what sort of, let's call it the loop that is going to continue. And we're going to create an infinity loop, so continue for as long as possible. And you can also change these, of course, for whatever you want. So let's start with the first one here. So animate text top, there we go. In this one, we're going to create an animation. Well, we're not going to create it, we're going to use the selector. And then in this one, text top here, we're going to use one called show up. So that's the name of animation or a keyframe that we'll create in the next video. And we're going to set this to, let's say, 6 seconds instead. And we're going to have an infinity loop. And I'm going to copy this because I'm lazy. So this, for this specific one, we attached the animation called show up. For the one with the span, so again, that's why we have the span in here. With this one here, oops, don't delete it. There we go. We're going to set up an animation, but we're going to call it reveal. And we're actually going to create one more for our animated dot text top. Wait, that's not right. That's not the one we want. We want to have static. That's the first one we created. Static text top, like this. Now I spelled this correctly, right? Text top, there we go. So that's this one up here. Maybe we should move it to the top instead. That's probably a little bit better. Whoops, there we go. So it is a little bit better like this. Dot static text top. And in this one, we need to have animation. And then we're going to call this, what are we going to, actually, shoot, this is the show up and animated text top. That's reveal. And the last one is span. Let's call this slide in here. And they're all infinite suite. So reveal, Danish keyboard, there we go. So this is the standard. So we have an animation attached to all three. And in the next video, we're going to set up our keyframes and then fix the small issues that we will get when we do this. All right, see you in the next video.